We recently talked about adding Proctor Gamble last week. We had trimmed Nvidia, took that money out of Nvidia, added Proctor Gamble. Procter Gamble's been on a very, very nice tear after their earnings expectations, beat earnings expectations, the most recent report. But yesterday absorbed a lot of cash flows, money rotating out of technology into staples. When you kind of go through your portfolio, look to have some of this diversification in your portfolio. It helps shield you from these one-day events, and particularly sector-specific events like DeepSeek yesterday. Here's what you need to know before the bell. The market's still on a buy signal. Breadth improved very well yesterday. Markets came down, touched right on the 20-day moving average, and then rallied back above the 50. So we're still holding very important technical support for the markets. Again, all we did was kind of just come down and retest moving average support yesterday. It was, again, kind of a shocker news. We did work off some of that overbought condition as well. So markets were overbought going into yesterday's action. So again, that pullback was not unexpected, which is why we were talking about rebalancing risk last week. But it's just the magnitude and the shock of it all at once. Normally, you kind of just drift down to support and work off the overbought condition. When it happens all at once, it certainly gets people's attention. But let's go through a few stocks here real quick, because those are the ones everybody wants to know about. Obviously, Nvidia was kind of the big impact yesterday. Closed down below the 200-day, wound up closing back above it by the end of the day. So again, already saw a little bit of recovery. We're going to see a little bit more this morning. But again, we'll go through some stats this morning. But of the 10 biggest drawdowns, market cap-wise, so Nvidia had about a $600 billion market cap reduction yesterday. Now, that was just after actually eclipsing and becoming the largest on this rally here, became the largest market cap company in the world. So it's not anymore. Apple's back in that lead. But, we had this correction of magnitude here. Now, it's done this out of the top 10 largest reductions in market capitalization in a single day. Out of the top 10, Nvidia has about 8 of them. I'll show you the chart this morning. But it does this regularly over history, and those have often been more often than not. And once we kind of put this onto a broader scale, kind of really puts this in magnitude. It has drawdowns like this because it's such a volatile stock. But again, when people panic and then have sold on each one of those big drawdowns over time, that's actually been a very bad decision. So again, I'm not saying that Nvidia is about to go racing off to the moon. I'm not saying that at all. This is going to have some impact to Nvidia for a while, but just be careful, as we always talk about, making knee-jerk reactions to one-day events, because again, a lot of people are still processing the information here as we go along. Other companies like Apple, as a good example, did very well yesterday because the expectation now is that potentially cheaper AI models will help fuel that. So Apple actually was coming off support. It's been decently oversold. So a little bit of good news here yesterday was actually good for Apple. Stock starting to turn back up on a buy signal. You're probably going to get a decent entry point, for Apple, particularly if they have earnings announcements this week that are decent. There's potentially here for a decent setup for a run in Apple. But we're seeing this across a lot of stocks. But outside of that, we recently talked about adding Procter Gamble last week. We had trimmed Nvidia, took that money out of Nvidia, added Procter Gamble. Procter Gamble's been on a very, very nice tear after their earnings expectations, beat earnings expectations, the most recent report. But yesterday absorbed a lot of cash flows, money rotating out of technology into staples. So again, that's when you kind of go through your portfolio, look to have some of this diversification in your portfolio. It helps shield you from these one-day events, and particularly sector-specific events like DeepSeek yesterday. This morning, markets are, again, they're kind of pointing up here early. S&P's up about 9 points right here at the open. We'll see. There's going to be a lot of kind of reassessment of this. A lot of headlines out very late yesterday that the whole reaction to DeepSeek was very oversold, very overblown. We'll see if that starts to feed back into the market and kind of go from here. But that's what you need to know before the bell this morning.